This video will equip you with everything you need to know about using references to craft your ideal mix. Get your free guide to release the best mix of your life in 7 days at homestudiomixacademy.com. So to start, what is a reference? Well, it's a path to follow to guide you towards your mix's target sound. That can be a song that has a musicality or a structure of the mix that you aspire to achieve. This can be a piece of your past work that really stands out, or it could be one of your favorite records. Now, there can be some resistance to being a copycat, right? Everyone wants to be original, and that's why using references can be often overthought or overlooked altogether. Remember that a reference frames the outcome, okay? It doesn't need to be perfect. It's not a whole copycat thing. Think of the references as a frame, a picture frame, and your mix is the beautiful picture within. So with that said, why should you use a reference? And here's the big thing: familiarity. Familiarity to other songs in that style or that genre, which is really going to help your mix sit in a Spotify playlist or on Apple Music. To listeners of that genre, it's going to fit in. It's going to sound familiar. But what this also does is it lets you hear how a good mix sounds in your environment. It's going to define normal to your ears, and this can save you a lot of time to guide your works towards that model of overall depth and dimension and balance. So how do you find and use a reference? Well, the first question to ask is, what is the sound of your ideal mix? Does it have, that bass sound from a Weeknd record? Does it have the guitars that really just jump out of the speakers like a Radiohead record? Maybe it has some Dio style vocals or an open jazzy drum kit like John Mayer's Continuum. So before you get too deep into your mix, choose 3 references, maybe 4, that are going to frame your ideal sound, style, and balance. And this is going to give you a clear and set target to work towards. Now, the next thing to point out here is that comparing your mix to a finished master can be really discouraging. I know from experience, you're mixing your song, it sounds great, and you pull in a reference, and then it's just like, oh, it's not a good feeling. Especially when it makes you realize that your mix needs a lot of work. But there are a couple things that you can do to level the playing field. So once you import your reference, the first thing you want to do is open up the loudness meter that's under metering in Logic. And I'm going to start by listening to the verse of my mix, and I'm going to measure the loudness using this meter, which is going to give us the loudness units at full scale, or LUFS, which is an international broadcast standard of measurement used in the process of quantifying a piece of music's perceived loudness by analyzing the average level over time. So let's check it out. Woke up quick, felt half cut, forgot my dreams, didn't sleep too much. So currently, my mix is sitting at around -16, -17 LUFS. Now, if I was to play back the reference at full volume, it's going to play back at a much higher level because it's a fully mastered track. This is Hold Me in Your Arms by The Trues, so I don't think I'm going to be able to play it on YouTube, but let's see where it's sitting at full volume. Right, so when the vocals kicked in, it was hitting around -5 LUFS, so it's much louder. And this isn't great for referencing because you want an even playing field for comparing your mix to your reference. So we're going to start by pulling the fader of your reference track down to match your mix. I'm going to guess it's around -10, -11 for this. And next you can go back and forth between your mix and the reference, and you can make any adjustments if needed. Woke up quick, felt half cut, forgot my dreams, didn't sleep too much. Plant my seed in history, it's alright, I love my dream. Fall back to you. Much better. Now you're able to accurately compare the volume, frequency, balance, overall energy, and dynamics without a loudness bias throwing off your ears. So this loudness bias occurs because human ears perceive louder sounds to have more bass and treble than quieter sounds. And for this reason, louder always sounds better to our ears, which is why it's essential to match the loudness of any reference that you bring into your DAW. And there are some great plugins that can help you level match more accurately. So a volume matched reference is a indispensable tool to inform you of the direction that your mix is going as it takes shape throughout the mixing process. And this is what's going to help you quantify how much is enough. Like take bass, for example. The amount of bass required in an EDM record is very different from a folk record. That seems obvious, right? The guitars in a heavy rock record are going to sound different to a pop or a country record. But you don't want to get skipped over in playlists because your song is too shrill or has no bass or the drums don't cut through. And that's not going to happen because you're smart and you're going to use references which will guide you through the mixing process by framing your ideal sound of where you'd like that mix to go. And as a result, you're going to get an excellent mix that fits in with your listener's expectation of that genre. And the last thing I have for you in this video is a list of some of my personal reference recommendations. We're going to start with a few albums that to me represent the pinnacle of mixing. To start, we have John Mayer's Continuum. Just so many great sounds on this record. The snare on Vultures, the guitar in Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. A lot of really great trio sounds, big, natural, open sounding drums, great sounding guitars, and really fat bass. Definitely check this out if you're doing anything using live recorded instruments. Just a fantastic record. If you're looking for something on the more electronic side, definitely check out Random Access Memories by Daft Punk. Probably their best mixed album. A lot of stuff going on here. Even beyond the singles, Get Lucky and Lose Yourself to Dance. A lot of great guitar, but also synth and just really creative electronic sounds. If you're into metal, I would definitely recommend Rammstein's new album. Great metal guitar, as well as really interesting synths, huge drums, and massive vocals. Really love it. If you're into hip hop, I definitely recommend checking out Derek Ali. He's a mix engineer who's done a lot of stuff for Kendrick Lamar, The Weeknd, Drake, and just he's really killing it in the hip hop genre. Definitely check him out. Now, I love using these albums as references because they frame my ideal as a mix engineer and as a music lover, but your tastes may be different. So you're going to want to pick 3, maybe 4 songs to frame your mix's ideal sound and to help guide your mixing decisions throughout that entire process. Now, if I missed your favorite, just yell at me in the comments. And if you'd like to learn more about using references in the mixing process, get your free 7-day mixing guide at homestudiomixacademy.com.